Welcome, Fantasizers. I'm Anthony Bravo, and this is the very first episode of Your Big Fat Fantasy. I'm here with my partner.
I am Nicholas Logan, and like he said, we are your Big Fat Fantasy, or you can call us your BFF for short. We are an upcoming YouTube/podcast channel talking about fantasy football, giving you the latest updates throughout your 2022 through 2023 NFL season. A little bit about myself. I started doing fantasy football about a decade ago with my partner here, Anthony Bravo. People around the league and people around our friend group, we call him Bravo. So if you hear me call him Bravo,
That's me.
that's him. That's Anthony, my good friend here. And yeah, we're just trying to give you guys the best content we can in any way we can. And yeah, like we said, we started playing fantasy football about 10 years ago, a decade ago, and we've been in multiple leagues since. We've mainly done redraft leagues. Last year was our first time doing a dynasty league. We're on to year 2 now and starting off another dynasty league in the next couple of days. And yeah, today we're going to be talking briefly a little bit about myself. You heard about me. Let's hear from Bravo here.
Yeah, just like Nick, I've been in fantasy football for about 10 years. It's been a hobby ever since. I have won Yahoo championship. I was in it with a bunch of rookies, so I don't really count that championship. But as far as the leagues we've been in, I made it to the championship back-to-back times, and I sadly lost both times. So, I'm just looking forward to the new year, looking forward to possibly getting that first ring for me.
Yeah, we all been there. I lost the championship last year after having the best team. Jamar Chase had one of the top 5 fantasy performances of all time in that championship game. But today we're going to be talking now about a tier list we made, a tier list based off NFL teams and their fantasy value as a whole. We know every team kind of has that sleeper. Every team kind of has that main guy that goes in the first couple rounds every year or so. But as a whole, which teams have the best fantasy appeal? So today we're going to be talking about tier D, the lowest tier, then on to tier C, and then we're going to do half the teams up in tier B. We're not going to bring you all 32 teams today. It's going to be a 2-part video. We're going to do the first 16 teams on our tier list. And the first team on that tier list is going to be the Chicago Bears, starting in tier D. A lot of these teams in tier D, you will see the main reason they are in tier D is because they really don't have a quarterback. Their running back situation a little sticky. Their wide receiver situation might be a little sticky. Tight end situation. And that's why we're going to start off with the Bears. Last year, Justin Fields, starting quarterback going into this year for Chicago, 31st in total yards, 32nd in completion percentage, a QBR rating of 30th, and he had more interceptions than total touchdowns, 10 interceptions to his 9 touchdowns, 31st ranked quarterback in fantasy. He has to do a lot better than this. I don't think it can get worse than the 31st ranked QB in fantasy. And he has a good start. They're going from Matt Nagy to now Matt Eberflus, the new head coach. Used to be the defensive coordinator in Indianapolis, now the head coach of the Bears. They really didn't bring in a lot of pieces this year for Justin Fields. New additions, Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry. They drafted Velus Jones, who they say is super fast. All going to be playing behind Darnell Mooney, who I like a lot. 23rd ranked wide receiver last year, even with
last year, for sure.
Even with Justin Fields' inability to throw the ball accurately. And they did have Andy Dalton, but Darnell Mooney's still able to finish in that top 23. You saw, if you watched the games last year, I know not a lot of people probably watched the Chicago Bears last year. I included, but if you watch Darnell Mooney's highlights from last year, you can see the flash, you can see the promise in the young star, third year going into the league. And of course, they still have David Montgomery back there in the backfield. Yeah, he's good. He's a good fantasy running back. He gets it done when you need him most. Last 2 years, he was the top 2 back the last couple of weeks of the fantasy year. So if you had him going in the playoffs, you're probably very happy with the results you got from David Montgomery. Not a guy who should be your main running back on your team. You should get in the early rounds, maybe the 5th, 6th, mid rounds. If you can get him as your second running back flex, you're good to go, knowing that he will be there ready to go when the fantasy playoffs are there. If he is your main back, you probably won't even make it to the fantasy playoffs. So you should count on that. I know they were saying that David Montgomery was taking some special team reps. Not sure what to say about that. That's good, bad if it's just him just taking it for the sake of the team. Or it could be not his backup, Khalil Herbert, is going to be taking some of his carries from him this year. I personally like Khalil Herbert a lot more than David Montgomery in terms of running ability, but take your chance with either of them. Who knows? It could be another backfield committee. That's kind of the story around the NFL now. And their tight end, Cole Kmet, he does have a good size, 6'6", 260 pounds. No touchdowns last year. But as a whole, bears really no fantasy appeal to me, at least in the early rounds. You can get Mooney, Montgomery mid-rounds and be happy. Of course, Fields might be a little better. Cole Kmet, I think he's the 12th ranked tight end right now, an underdog. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Darnell Mooney outscored Allen Robinson last year.
Totally forgot about Allen
too.
Robinson. Yeah. Forgotten man of
that
team after being a top 10
Robinson,
wide receiver the 2 years before that. So
Allen Robinson won't be a forgotten man this year, that's for sure. Anyways, we're going to be moving on to the Washington Commanders.
Oof.
First of all, Washington Commanders, that's like a first grade team name, man. I'm not cheering for a team named the Commanders. Second of all, there was only like 3 or 4 Commander fans at training camp this week, so I don't know, not a lot of support from their city. McKissick and Antonio Gibson, I'm hearing that they might be forming a committee, so I'm not too high on Gibson this year.
Now they have Brian Robinson, too.
Brian Robinson as well. Gibson, good pick last year. This year, shaky pick. Yeah. Out of everybody, I'm probably going to pick McLaurin the earliest. He's definitely the most likely to have a breakout year out of everybody on this offensive roster, but he's also never finished above the 23rd best wide receiver. And he downgraded at quarterback. So we don't know how that's gonna pan out. Carson Wentz, definition of average. He hasn't been top 10 since 2017. And I don't know. I like Jahan Dotson. I just don't really see this offense doing much.
Yeah, I don't either. Not a lot of fantasy appeal there.
No, not many outside of McLaurin.
Yeah.
But, let's move on to our next team.
Yeah, next team on our list, still in the Tier D list, is the Houston Texans, another team with unsure quarterback. I know Lovie Smith and the rest of the guys have talked very highly about Davis Mills, still trying to get that turtleneck sponsorship. Yeah, he's trying to get that turtleneck sponsorship. I heard his mom was saying something about he should be getting sponsored for turtlenecks, but nonetheless, not a lot of fantasy appeal there. Maybe you can get him late, last round. He could be a little streaming quarterback for your team when your main guys have a bye week. But other than that, it's just his situation there in Houston is just a little shaky. Unsure running back situation. Last year, Rex Burkhead had a couple of flashes of good games. I'm sure a lot of people started him as a streaming back towards the end of their year. They did bring in Marlon Mack, who used to be a starting running back Marlon in the league. Yeah, before Jonathan Taylor took over and really just took over the league. So Marlon Mack really had no place in Indianapolis once that happened. Of course, he did have those injuries, but he's in Houston now. And they also did bring in Dameon Pierce, young rookie.
Love Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I do too. You might not know the name, but I'm sure you've seen the highlight of him running in a touchdown with no helmet on when he was back in Florida. So
keep Dameon Pierce on your radar.
Yeah, I agree. Not an early pick, but a good late sleeper pick. Yeah. If he's still there, if you can get him late, he might take over week 6 on. Who knows?
Even in the 9th and 10th round of drafts, you can even pick him up. That's a really good value for Dameon Pierce, in my opinion.
I agree. I think he's a really good stash this year, especially given Marlon Mack's injury. Rex Burkhead's never really been a bell cow on any team he's been on, and their wide receiver, probably Brandon Cooks would be on my radar in fantasy. Not early, but Brandon Cooks always goes in those mid rounds, those 5-6 rounds, and he always finishes top 20 in the league. Has never finished below that. Always been a top 20 ranked fantasy receiver. If you look, 2019, 2014 were the only years he didn't, but those years he also had injury-plagued seasons. So beyond that, he's always shined wherever he's gone, whether that's the Patriots or the Saints or the Rams, now in the Texans. He's always been that late kind of that sleepy little wide receiver that not a lot of people draft early, but if he's your second best, third best receiver, you can confidently start him every week. He's one of those set and forget type guys.
Yeah.
And other than that, Nico Collins, I know they're speaking highly about him. They're saying he's getting better at his route running, getting better, learning the playbook, getting a little faster, better hands, all that. Their tight end situation, if you would have asked me last week, I would have been like, oh, yeah, I like Brevin Jordan. I like his size. 3 touchdowns last year and limited amount of snaps. But a couple of days ago now, Lovie Smith saying Pharaoh Brown is the new starting tight end. Never heard of the guy, but yeah, the new starting tight end. So another team with just a lot of question marks there outside of really just Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks, yeah.
And like Bravo said, keep Pierce on your radars, though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon Cooks going in around the 3rd round of underdog drafts, so
yeah, it's pretty good.
if you can get him late 3rd, early 4th,
yeah, I seen him slip to 5 rounds.
Do it. He's also the first Texans player out ADP.
There's probably not another one picked until
Damian
10
Pierce.
rounds later, yeah.
But second to last team on this D tier list is the Falcons. And just going to go ahead and start off by talking about Drake London. I think Drake London's probably the most talented receiver in this draft. I hear he's already mossing people, cooking in camp. His quarterback is the big question, Marcus Mariota. Running quarterback has never really been elite in the NFL. And honestly, I don't know about the rushing touchdowns. I don't see Mariota topping over 20 passing touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
If he does, Drake London's catching like 10 of those.
I'm going to have to look up the over-under of Mariota passing touchdowns.
Yeah. And then, there's a lot of questions at their running back. They got Cordell. They got Mike Davis.
No, they got rid of him.
Another guy who
Darrell Williams.
Darrell Williams and Tyler Algier.
Or Damian Williams. Darrell's
I'm sorry about that.
The Cardinals now, that's right.
Too many Williams.
The D. Williams brothers.
Point is, I like Tyler Algier out of this backfield. He's a 5th-round rookie, but I see him taking this starting job. There's not much comp.
I like Algier a lot.
Algier.
Another guy like Damian Pierce you should keep on your radar.
Yeah, definitely. They have They're projected to have the 27th best O-line in the league, so I don't know how much Algier is gonna produce behind that. But take a risk. Algier, he's gonna be there late. Take a risk. Kyle Pitts, definitely top 3, top 4 tight end. I might be wasting an early pick on him just because Drake London and him are gonna be receiving most of the target shares.
And they're gonna be throwing a lot of football.
That's only 2 players. That's a lot of target shares between 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Edwards, he's not a top receiver on my list without a doubt. I honestly feel like this might be his last year to show us he can actually do something before he becomes a bench receiver.
Practice squad guy.
Practice squad. But he said in training camp today he thinks he'll be a good fit. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and they really have no receiver after Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You can even call him a receiver, just playing tight end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the last team on Tier D list, the Seattle Seahawks. Out of all these teams, they probably have the worst quarterback situation. I know I trust Wentz more. I trust Davis Mills more. I trust Mariota more. I trust Fields more. I pretty much trust anybody on this list except for the quarterback situation in Seattle. And it's 2 guys competing in Seattle, and Geno Smith and Drew Lock. I doubt any of these guys get drafted in really any fantasy league this year. They're probably both those guys will be on waivers, even if you're playing in a super flex dynasty league. I'm sure these guys. I mean, I have Geno Smith as my 4th best ranked quarterback, but I mean, I really have no one else to pick up right now on waivers. Yeah. So I'm not relying on him to do anything. Just kind of a stash guy. If you have room for him, I guess stash him or Lock. Well, we don't even know who's gonna start yet. So come week 1, Geno Smith might not even be on my team. He might not even be the starting quarterback in Seattle. Right now, their running back situation and their wide receiver situation does have a little bit of fantasy appeal, though. I know Rashad Penny is going to be their top running back coming into this year. He was the top 1 running back between week 13 to week 18. Averaged 19.5 fantasy points per game. Almost 20 fantasy points per game he averaged last 6 games of the season. Sure, if you picked him up on waivers going into the playoffs and you started him, you probably were beating top teams in the league who had drafted running backs in the first 2 rounds.
You might have even won a championship.
Yeah, he might even won a championship. So because of that, Rashad Penny is going to be their main back coming into this year. He's had the health issues and health problems throughout his young career. And if that's the case this year, Kenneth Walker looks ready to be the next guy up on that. I know Chris Carson just retired. Kenneth Walker, who they got in the 2nd round from Michigan State, looks good, has the size. So if you're getting Rashad Penny, I would advise you to also get Kenneth Walker as the backup, as a very strong handcuff over there. I know a lot of people like to do that in fantasy. That's probably one of the biggest handcuffs you got to get if you're getting Penny early. I know maybe early is not 3rd, 4th round, maybe 5th, 6th round. You probably would have to get Kenneth Walker right after in that 7th round.
I could even see them going committee later on in the year, like
to take some 50-50
touches, 60-40. I can definitely see that, especially on the Seahawks offense.
Yeah, and a lot could happen.
Pete loves running the ball. Pete Carroll loves running the ball.
He does.
He ran Wilson out of the city just because he wants to run the ball. That's crazy.
Yeah, so they probably won't be throwing a lot. I know they do have DK Metcalf. They just signed him to a 3-year, $72 million extension. I like DK a lot personally.
I like DK. He's young, big.
Yeah, he has the size, the speed.
Grown man.
Yeah, he's a very big kid.
Yeah.
And he deserves the check that he got. Just won't have a quarterback throwing to him. They have Tyler Lockett there. I definition of a boomer bust. I had him last year. Just one of those guys, you start him, he might put up 25 that game, or he might put up
next week he'll put up 2.
Yeah, like one catch for 20 yards or something on 2 targets or something. Yeah. So look out for that. It's probably going to be more of a bust year for him because of the quarterback situation. They also got Noah Fant in that deal with for Russell. They got Noah Fant in that deal. In the Russell Wilson trades. He actually finished as a tight end 1 the last 2 years in PPR. So something to look out for if need a tight end in those later rounds. Noah Fant, circle him. Might be a little sleeper tight end like he has been the last few years.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of our Tier D list. Now we're going to be moving up a Tier 2, Tier C, and we're starting it off with the Carolina Panthers. To me, literally the only reason these Carolina Panthers are on the C list is because they got CMC. I'm taking CMC no later than the 102 on any kind of draft. Nah, probably just redraft. Dynasty's different. But, definitely taking him no later than the 102. He's going exactly at number 2 on underdog ADP. Mm-hmm. And, that's a league winner right there. If he stays healthy all 17 games, definitely a league winner. Next guy with the second most fantasy relevance is probably DJ Moore. They got him going around the 3rd round. If I can get him late 3rd, early 4th, I'm definitely snagging DJ Moore. Yeah. He's been producing with literally no quarterback. He had Sam Darnold last year for 4 weeks, but still producing after Sam Darnold got injured. Mm-hmm. And I heard Sam Darnold's also been on another level. And training camp this year, he has the clear edge over Baker. I like Matt Corral though. I think Matt Corral has a chance to take that job easily. Who are
you drafting of those 3 right now in fantasy? Your draft starts tomorrow. Who are you drafting? Or none. You're not even taking a shot at any of them.
It really depends. If I need a quarterback, week 1, Sam Darnold. If I already got 2 quarterbacks, I'm taking Matt Corral.
All right.
Yeah. But I like Matt Corral. He's a little runner, and I think this team has somewhat potential this season. Not playoff team potential, but potential to make your fantasy team nice.
Yeah. Definitely have that potential. Another team with a lot of potential, actually a lot of potential, a team that I like a lot this year, are the Detroit Lions, a young team, one of the top O-lines in the league. And they are bringing in nice new pieces now on their defense and their offense. One of the young pieces they brought in this year was Jameson Williams. I think he would have been the number 1 receiver taken in the NFL draft if it wasn't for his injury last year.
Easily.
But I know they're saying he probably won't be back till November this year. Could be a good late stash guy who could pop off later on in the year, just like his fellow receiving mate did last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown was one of the top receivers at the end of the year. If you had him in your lineup once again, one of those waiver guys that you plugged in at the end and probably helped you win some games late, playoff games late, championship. But the guy I have circled that I can get him in the mid rounds. I like him. He's gonna start off as their wide receiver one. Why not? They did bring in DJ Chark this year as well. Not a lot of fantasy relevance the last 2 years because of injury, but was a wide receiver 2 or 3 a few years ago on the Jacksonville. Yeah, so we'll see what he can do now. It's wide receiver 2 is up for grabs early on in the year. They also have T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, a guy that I like when he's healthy. He could finish as a top 3-4 tight end. You could get him kind of late right now. And
they got him at the tight end 7 right now.
Yeah, as a tight end 7, that's pretty good for a guy that has the potential to finish top 3-4 in fantasy. Just needs to stay healthy, needs to stay on the field. But he finally has a team around him where they can keep some of those targets away from him and kind of use them for those red zone targets, those third downs where you need it, type Mr. Reliable type plays. And my favorite guy, though, I saved him for last, is DeAndre Swift. I like the kid a lot. I know Coach Campbell's talking about limiting his workload this year. They said the same thing last year. But who knows? He's still going to finish as a top 10 running back, still young, still big. Gained some pounds this year in terms of muscle, so he's ready to go, and they're going to really rest him this preseason and training camp. I took a day off of practice yesterday or today. So they're going to ease him in again. They're going to limit his workload. But when he's on that field, they're going to use him a lot, especially in PPR leagues. They're going to use him a lot to throw the ball to him on those little 3-yard plays. He's big. He's going to get those red zone carries. He's not anyone behind. Let's have Jamal Williams. But
yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see Jamal Williams taking his workload.
No, man. He's not going to be taking his workload.
You're not giving the ball to Jamal Williams when you have DeAndre Swift on your team.
And Coach Campbell, he's kind of tricky. He might just be saying they're going to limit his workload, but for all I know, he's going to be running the ball every play and getting targeted almost every play. So I like Swift early. He's going in the second round right now, but you can get him late. First round, especially.
They got him at the RB8.
RB8, so
I draft a running back first round, you can get him as your second running back.
I am drafting a lot of Swift this year.
Yeah,
I do like Swift a lot, especially behind that O-line. And like I said, the pieces are kind of forming behind him. That team is forming behind them. They still have Jared Goff there, who not long ago was the first overall pick in the 2016 draft. Kind of his last shot to prove it, but again, the pieces are there. This is his chance to prove something before they look for a quarterback next year in the draft. So
yeah,
definitely. I like that team.
I like that team too. And that brings us to another team I like, the Jacksonville Jaguars. To me, this team has a lot of potential. Travis Etienne looks like he's the most explosive offensive weapon in camp, is what they're saying. Just remember in college, he tied Zeke and Derrick Henry for most rushing scores in CFP history, has the ACC record for rushing yards from scrimmage and rushing touchdowns. And, he's back with his best friend, Trevor Lawrence, who went 38-2 in college, 66% career completion percentage, has like 20 college records. I like Trevor Lawrence more in Dynasty than redraft, but he could still be a top 15 quarterback, even top 10. I could see Travis Etienne being like top 5, top 10 this year too, And they got the receiving room is a little questionable. They got Christian Kirk. They gave him like $20 million, and he was only the ranked 28th wide receiver last year. And before that, he was ranked 51, 45, and 57. So that could either be a really bad signing, or it could turn out good for them. You never know. And they also got Evan Ingram, who was a solid tight end in New York.
Yeah.
So,
and they have the Jones brothers too.
Jones, Marvin, and
Zay.
The
The Jones bros. So.
Yeah, I like that team. That team definitely has a lot of potential to even move up to B.
Yeah, especially in like he said, in a dynasty league.
Yeah,
a lot of potential there. Definitely. I do like Etienne. I do like Lawrence, especially late in drafts. So
yeah,
another team that has another good running back, the New York Giants. The New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. I know he's had the injuries. It's going to be hard to take him in that first round. Might be hard to take him in that second round. But if he's there, you got to take Saquon Barkley. The offense is going to revolve around Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
He's going to be catching the ball a lot more. They said this year they'd have no other running back behind him. So even with the injuries, he's coming in being the bell cow of that team. No reason why you should not take a chance on Saquon. I know I'm going to take my chance on Saquon. You don't want to be that guy that's like, damn, I should have taken Saquon when he was there later on in the year. You'll face more regret doing that than taking Saquon and him getting injured.
Yeah.
So look for Saquon. He has
Saquon
that.
going at the RB10 on
Yeah,
underdog too.
and he could finish as the RB3 this year too.
Yeah.
Who knows with Saquon, but he has the physicality and the toughness to really bounce back from those last couple injuries he's had the last couple seasons. Outside of that, I do like Kadarius Toney. I do like him. He's still young. I know he had the injury problems as well last year. Kind of the story with the Giants.
Popped off against your Cowboys last year
can't
too.
forget that game. Did cook us. We still won, but
yeah, he had a good game.
He had a good game. One of those games where he was probably the top guy on that waiver wire going in after that game. So this year, look for Kadarius Toney in the mid rounds. He's gonna be that wide receiver one. I know people might think the Giants have so many receivers on that team, but they really don't. I mean, yeah, they got Kenny Galladay. They paid him like a wide receiver one. 4 years, $72 million. One of the highest paid wide receivers in the league.
And what has he done there?
And he hasn't done anything in New York. They already say now that he has chemistry issues with Daniel Jones. So Kadarius Toney is that guy. It's not Galladay, even though that's who the Giants thought. I'm not drafting Galladay, not even late in any rounds. If anything, I'm going with their rookie, Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
I'll take him. Now we'll see what Danny Dimes could do with the little help he has now with Saquon coming back and a couple good young receivers to work with. They said he looks good in training camp. I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy, but I mean I would draft him late as my second best quarterback in redrafts league. Just to, who knows, maybe this is his year where he's hungry and he wants to stay a franchise quarterback. But like I said, the story with the Giants though that you do really need to look out for going into drafts is their injuries. Last year, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, and Kenny Galladay, they missed a combined 20 games. That's almost an average of 5 games per all those players. So just that's one thing you have to look out for if you're going to be drafting these guys. Just Saquon's the only guy I would draft high in Toney, really. But just look out for those injuries and remain ready. It's fantasy football. It's the NFL. Injuries do happen. So
and they got Toney ranked as the 39th best receiver. So he's definitely not the 39th best receiver in the NFL, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But, that brings us to our next team. I'm on the C tier list. Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to just start this off with Kenny Pickett. They drafted him in the first round, but he was a 3-star recruit. He only popped off his last season in college. He's already getting bullied by Mason Rudolph for his job. Like, I don't know, maybe he gets the job mid-season, but right now, like, I don't want Pickett on my team. I don't want Kenny Pickett on my team, man. Not until I get more answers to these questions I have. They're saying there's a chance Najee regresses. I don't see him falling out of the top 10. He's going to be the bell cow. He's going to be the workhorse. He does have a shitty O-line, but they're going to give him the ball. Who the hell are they? Who else are they going to give it to? Benny Snell?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's like the Giants. They really don't have another back behind these guys.
Yeah, so Najee's going to be that workhorse. I love Freiermuth. I like him more in Dynasty than redraft, but I'm still drafting him in both. I think he's going to get a nice target share. And
especially in the red zone. He didn't drop a single red zone
pass in college. So he's going to get red zone targets. Wide receiver room looking a little crowded. I would say the best wide receiver right now is looking like Deontay. They just signed him to 2 years, $36 million. And the second best receiver, to be honest with you, I'm taking George Pickens over Claypool. They got Pickens ADP at 162, and they got Claypool at 106. I'm taking Pickens at 162 100 times more than I'm taking Claypool at 106,
I'm drafting a lot of Pickens this year, that's for sure. I'm definitely picking Pickens.
Yeah, Claypool, he has immaturity issues. I don't like people like that. I like adults, man. So I'm going Pickens and Deontay. And Najee are probably your best fantasy bets right now this season.
Yeah. And finishing off our tier C list is the Tennessee Titans, a team that, could be in that B tier. That's what kind of put them in that last team on the C tier, kind of borderline B, but more C.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Derrick Henry. He's coming off a broken foot injury. Same thing. You still should draft Derrick Henry where he is. If he's there, draft him. He's, again, going to be the main part of that offense there in Tennessee. They can run the ball a lot. They like to run the ball a lot, and he's going to score the ball a lot. Last year, he was averaging the most points per game when he was on the field, even more than Jonathan Taylor. So when he's on the field, you know he's going to be scoring 25 to 30 fantasy points a week. That's the type of guy that you need to win a league, the type of guy you need to make a statement, a guy that you can revolve your fantasy team around, like the way the Titans revolve their offense around him. But the reason they are on this C tier list because kind of their wide receivers, I do like Treylon Burks. I do. I know they said he had conditioning issues coming into the training camp, and he had the asthma, but they're saying he's over it. I'll take my chance with Treylon. You don't give away your franchise wide receiver to bring in a young rookie if you're not gonna be throwing on the ball a lot this year. So there are targets there. They did bring in Robert Woods, who is coming off an ACL tear. I'm a big Robert Woods stan. I do like Robert Woods. I drafted him a lot the last few seasons.
He was going off before he tore his ACL.
Yeah, he was a top 12 wide receiver last year before he tore his ACL. He was a wide receiver 13 in 2020, the wide receiver 14 in 2019, wide receiver 11 in 2018. Always kind of been around that wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 fantasy value. And
like
a guy,
borderline.
Yeah, and a guy you can even get mid rounds. So, and like I said, there's targets to go around over there. Another guy that they're talking about, a guy I really didn't know much about until one of my friends freaked out when he wasn't able to get him in our rookie draft, is Kyle Phillips.
Kyle Phillips from UCLA.
Yeah, they're
Cali boy.
Yeah, so they're putting him in that slot. He's taking first team reps. We'll see if Kyle Phillips might be that little sleeper guy, especially if Treylon Burks does have condition issues where he has to sit out a couple of snaps. And here comes Phillips. If Robert Woods isn't healthy to start the year, Kyle Phillips is next up on that list to get those targets when they're not handing off to Derrick Henry almost every play. So, and then they also brought in Austin Hooper, top 6 tight end before he met Baker Mayfield and kind of was forgotten about over there in that offense.
Happens to everyone that goes to the Browns.
Yeah, so and he also had Njoku there, but I like Austin Hooper if you can get him, late, good sleeper guy, good guy you can stream at the tight end spot if you're not getting a tight end early, guy you can flip flop with other guys.
Yeah.
And so they still have Tannehill, kind of like sleeper quarterback in terms of fantasy. A lot of guys they don't really get a lot of Tannehill. He's kind of always there on the waivers when the season starts or something. It's a team's third best quarterback. But last 2 years he finished top 12 QB. So that's a QB one on fantasy. Yeah. So especially if you're in a 12-man league, that's solid. But even though they run the ball as much as they do, this guy's still finishing as a top 12 quarterback in fantasy, which is insane. But that will kind of conclude our tier C list. I don't know if you guys saw the pattern, but all these teams had just that main running back that you have to get in those early first 2 rounds, really. Then a lot of maybe little receivers you can get, quarterback that you can also possibly get, maybe besides the Steelers over there. But nonetheless, moving on to tier B, where Bravo will start off with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so the Saints. I really like this team. Jameis Winston, last year before injury, he had 14 passing touchdowns. He had 3 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown in only 8 games. That was good enough for 16.9 fantasy points per game. Oof. And that's a QB1, He could definitely be a top 15 quarterback this year if he stays healthy all year. And, I like Jameis Winston. I'm definitely streaming him if he's there late rounds. Alvin Kamara. That's a guy with some questions. I personally traded Kamara in my Dynasty League because I couldn't afford to have him miss the first 4 to 6 games of the season. Now it's not looking so likely that happens, so I'm kind of regretting that trade, but, there's always a possibility that he still gets into trouble, so.
Mid-season, they suspend him last few games of the year when need him in playoffs or something. Yeah,
but in redrafts, I'm still definitely spending a late first to early second on Kamara. His fantasy upside is just too nice. Was averaging, 18 fantasy points per game last year. That's really good for a running back.
He's always a running back one in fantasy, really.
Yeah. I think 1 year he was even 1.
Yeah.
I think like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But
probably back-to-back years even.
Yeah. And then their wide receivers, I'm going to be honest, I'm taking Olave over Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas hasn't played in like 2 years. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how his health is. Olave is a nice young fresh legs. He's a deep ball guy. If you can get Michael Thomas at a good value pick, be my guest. Have him be like your 3rd or 4th best wide receiver. But I see Olave, outperforming him this year. I think they both have above average fantasy seasons if they could stay healthy. And moving on to the Browns. Nick's going to start talking about the Browns.
The Browns. So we put him on tier B because we thought Watson was only going to get suspended 6 games. That still could be the case with Deshaun, but I know the NFL is trying to appeal that. They're getting a lot of backlash. We'll see. A lot of that offense relies on whether Deshaun's there or not.
Yeah.
But even if he's not, they still have one of the top O-lines in the league, ranked 2nd on PFF, ranked 5th on Pro Football Network. So top 5 offensive line, anywhere you look, they're ranked top 5.
Yeah.
And with the running backs they have, it's going to be a very explosive offense. If you can run the ball with Chubb, and then you can throw out Kareem Hunt or even like a guy like Dearness Johnson who had some big games last year. It's going to be a team that's going to run a lot of play action. They did bring in Amari Cooper to take those targets. Had a little injury in training camp, but he's back out there on the field. I do like Amari Cooper a lot. I think he's one of the best route runners in the league. He has some good hands. As soon as he breaks his defender. So look for Amari, look for those running backs and Chubb and Hunt. And if you're going to get Chubb, you kind of want Hunt and maybe even Dearness. They both were injured last year, Chubb and Hunt. So we'll see. We'll see. Right now they're saying Chubb looks super healthy and looks ready to go for week 1. I like Nick Chubb. I think he's one of the best running backs, not in just in fantasy, but I think just in the NFL in general, one of the best. They did tie in Njoku to a 4-year extension, was a top 10 tight end in 2018. Again, that was before Austin Hooper came in. They ran that kind of that double tight end, kind of flip-flop, 1 in, 1 out. But yeah, I think the fantasy value is there, especially with Deshaun Watson. If your draft's a little closer after the NFL decides on his suspension, get Deshaun Watson, even if it's only 6 games he's suspended for. Hey, even if it's 8 or 10 games, I'm still going to get Deshaun Watson. He's always been a top 5 quarterback. He's never finished outside the top 5 when he's on the field. He tore his ACL his rookie year, and that's the only time he didn't finish in the top 5. Or last year, we didn't even play a single snap. But if he's on the field, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy, one of the best in the game. Just take your shot on Deshaun if he's there late in your drafts. And moving on to the next team, the New England Patriots.
New England Patriots. I'm just going to start off by saying, take Ramondre Stevenson over Damian Harris. I don't see Damian Harris locking in that number 1 role for very long. I think Ramondre definitely finishes the season as the number 1 back. And I'm hearing a lot of reports that he's looking nice in camp. Another dude looking nice, Mac Jones. I think he's going to improve a lot this year. Had a solid rookie season. Bill Belichick already thinks he's improved, and that's like the GOAT coach. So if you're getting praise from the GOAT coach, you must be doing good. He got added help with Devontae Parker, and he has good young receivers. He got Bourne, Jacoby Myers, and that new rookie Tyquan Thornton. They say he's looking good in camp. I heard he caught like 4 touchdowns the other day in camp.
He was the fastest fastest runner in the combine, I believe. So
in the combine,
a lot of speed there.
Yeah. Hunter Henry was the number 10 tight end last year. I don't see him moving from that 10. He's definitely gonna be top 10. And I like this team's kind of a sleepy team.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of big names, but I feel like there's a lot of potential on this team.
Yeah. In terms of like maybe not guys you get high on your list, but in those mid rounds, there's gonna be a lot of Patriots taken. You're gonna see Ramondre taken, Harris taken, Jones taken. I'm sure if someone needs a tight end, Hunter Henry might go.
Every offensive player gets better when they go to the Patriots.
Yeah. Next up on the list, the San Francisco 49ers. They just said bye-bye to Jimmy G, and Trey Lance has now come in, and he's their new guy, their new quarterback, going top 10 in a lot of drafts coming into this season.
QB8.
Yeah, QB8 right now, and underdog. Trey Lance, more for his ability to run the ball than throw the ball, is why a lot of people are high on him. But when he has to throw the ball, he does have the pieces around him. He does have Deebo Samuel. He does have George Kittle. He has Brandon Ayuk. All those guys have a lot of potential to finish top 20 in their respective positions. Deebo maybe top 10, Ayuk maybe top 20, 15, George Kittle top 5. So look for those guys in your drafts in the early mid rounds. George Kittle, I like him. I know he has some injury issues, missed 13 games the last 3 years, but a top five tight end when healthy. They do have Ayuk. I think he's gonna have a 3rd-year breakout year. He did have some fantasy games the last couple years where
towards the end,
but I think this year he's gonna have a lot more consistency, even more with the consistency at quarterback. Now they know who their guy is. I like Ayuk. They're saying a lot of good things about him in training camp, kind of their MVP in training camp.
Cooking.
Yeah,
He's cooking.
And Debo is back. He's back on the field practicing. He got his extension. 3 years, $71.55 million to stay there with a $2 million running incentive. So I know he's not going to – he said he didn't want to run the ball as much, but he does have incentive now to do that. And he's going to have to compete for those carries. There are a lot of guys in that backfield in San Francisco. Elijah Mitchell, Tyrion Davis-Price, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon. 4 guys that are going to probably be sharing that backfield. Right now, the main guy is obviously Elijah Mitchell just because of what he did last year. If I'm not really drafting a lot of Niners at running back. If I am, it's probably Davis-Price. Just because you can get him late.
Yeah, going at the RB50 right now.
Yeah, so I might get him just in case one injury happens or 2. Now it's his backfield. They drafted him for a reason, even after they drafted 2 running backs last year. But yeah, their team that's going to run the ball. Trey Lance running quarterback. 4 guys that are going to run the ball at the running back. A receiver that's going to run. So Niners, a lot of fantasy appeal though.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings us to the last team we are going to be talking about today on this video. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. First of all, they got Pat Mahomes. Top 3 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. It's Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and then it's going to be Pat Mahomes for me. That kid is very talented, man. I've never seen a kid like that with that kind of arm power. And he has the top 1 tight end, in my opinion, as well. In redraft leagues is Travis Kelce. Tyreek's gone. That just means Kelsey's going to eat up all the targets. You know, they got Sky Moore there, too. Don't know how long it's going to take for him to get adjusted. Hopefully quick. I think quick. He's pretty talented. And the only question I have over there in KC is who's going to be their RB1. Is it going to be Clyde? Will it be McKinnon? Will they run committee? I don't know. I'm not drafting a KC running back unless it's at a good value, you know. Just too many questions there. But, yeah, I like this offense still, even with Hill gone, definitely.
Yeah. The wide receiver 1 spot there is open for the taking.
Open.
Is it Juju? Is it MVS? Is it Sky? Is it McCole Hardman?
I'm not too high on Juju. That's why I didn't even mention him. But
yeah,
if you like Juju, go ahead, man. He might be good. He might be good
going
with
early
Mahomes.
in a lot of underdog drafts too.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Sky Moore
Me
way
too.
later than I'm getting
Me
Juju.
too.
I'm not drafting no McCole Hardman, and
No.
I'm not drafting no MVS. I think even MVS is going before Sky Moore in some underdog drafts. But yeah, that wide receiver 1 is it's crazy thing about the Chiefs is that they as powerful as their offense is and as good as Mahomes is, they've only really had 2 fantasy relevant players. It's just been Kelsey and Hill. It's never really been like another guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some games it's Hardman or Brian Pringle or some other receiver or something, or they just never like it's always been them too, and that's why that wide receiver 1 spot's up for the take, and it's gonna be Kelsey. It's gonna be one of those 3-4 guys that they brought in this year. So
they got Juju going at wide receiver 26. They got MVS going at wide receiver 46, and then they got Sky at 47, right behind MVS.
Yeah, so
definitely don't take MVS over Sky.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. But yeah, that concludes the end of the first half of our tier list. Anything you want to close out with?
Yeah, so we do have the rest of tier B left to finish. We do have tier A and tier S left on our tier list. We'll be talking about that in our next video. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know who's going to fill in those question marks. Which teams are going to be in B, which teams are going to be in A, which teams do you guys think are going to be S? And
comment
let us know
down below.
Yeah, and just let us know how we did so far, and let us know what you guys think. And one of those comments you leave will be a third of the way to get you into a giveaway that we're doing for a free jersey. Show it up. So we are going to do a giveaway. All you got to do to put your name in it is just like, comment, subscribe, and just send us a picture on Instagram.
Yeah.
And once we get 200 subscribers, right now the lucky number is 200, we will do a raffle and pick one lucky winner for a free jersey of your choice. Any team, any player, we got you if you win. All you got to do, again, is like, comment, subscribe, send us a message on Instagram. If you haven't followed us already, we will put all of our social media accounts in the description below. So look out for that. I promise you, we will get you a jersey that will have the right number. I know Bravo's wearing a 99 Bosa jersey, so we promise
Bosa's 98 now.
Yeah, we won't get you we won't get you a bootleg one. We promise.
Sale.
It'll be the right number. The name will be right on there. So, but yeah, thanks for sticking with us to this first video. We do appreciate you. Again, we are your Big Fat Fantasy.
Your BFF.
And thanks again.
Thank you.
Subscribe.
See you next time.